first, Max, we've just got to get right into it.
Yeah, let's dive in. All right.
Got to get into UIL realignment.
Yeah.
Of course, today is the day that the new districts for the next 2 years were announced for Texas high school football from the UIL. And overall, it's a big data dump. And I understand if you're like me, where there's a lot to comprehend and there's a lot to kind of sift through. And we're not going to do it all today. It's going to take us the next month to do it. But overall, you're trying to distract me, and I'm doing it.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
But overall, I want to give some 50,000-foot view thoughts. And so I've got 5 big thoughts that I've got. First thought, a stunning day. The word that kept coming to mind while I was looking over the UIL realignment today was stunning, because there are some major shifts in what has happened. And in a lot of respects, we have taken a lot of preconceived notions that we have about how UIL alignment should go, and we've thrown them out the window. Now, that is not we're going to talk with Dr. Susan Elza coming up here in a minute, but one thing that's really interesting, and we mentioned it yesterday on the show, is that because they were for the first time using a software to put together the realignment, instead of the traditional literally push pins and rubber bands.
Yep.
You think I'm making that up, but that's literally how they would do it. Instead, they use a software, and so the software only knows one thing, and that is efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
They are trying to make things the best for the most amount of people, and try to make it the fairest for the most amount of people as far as travel is concerned. And so that has led to a lot of wackiness and a lot of things that we maybe saw coming down the pike, and some others that absolutely positively blew us away.
Right.
And so if you're looking for a word to describe this new alignment of UIL districts, I would say it is stunning. That's thought number 1. Thought number 2 is West Texas questions. Let's go west. And that is where there is a lot of hemming and hawing and a lot of hand-wringing, because there's a number of big storylines out west that have suddenly become front and center for the UIL. One of them is San Angelo Central. And I've been talking with folks on Twitter today about the San Angelo situation. If you haven't seen, San Angelo Central was put in District 3-6A, along with Metroplex teams, DFW Metroplex teams, like Euless Trinity, like Weatherford. There is a lot. That is a long way.
Yep.
The only team that you could call relatively local for them is Abilene. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, here is what my overall take on that is. San Angelo Central, much like Texas High and much like a handful of other teams, like the Wichita Falls teams, they are in a no-win situation. There is no alignment that is going to be good for them. So you are trying to find the alignment that is the least bad for the least amount of people.
Right.
And in a lot of respects, if you look at the numbers and you crunch them, for example, I did, and if you go by as the crow flies, it is something like 230-something miles to each for San Angelo Central, to each of the teams in District 2, and it's something like 280 miles for the teams in District 3. And so they are traveling farther than they would have if they were in the Little Southwest Conference.
Right.
That's math.
Yeah.
And so I started thinking, okay, why did the software come up with this? And I will tell you that I think it's because of Wolford Friendship and Amarillo Tascosa. And I think the computer said, all right, we can either make things longer, we can either make things tougher for 2 teams in Wolford Friendship and San Angelo Central. I'm sorry, for Wolford Friendship and Amarillo Tascosa.
Yeah.
Or we can make things we can make things longer for 1 team, which would be San Angelo Central. Right. And I think that is the logic. I think so. Now, I'm going to talk to Dr. Susan Elza. I'm saying I don't think there's a good solution. And I think San Angelo Central fans are understandably upset and understandably kind of scratching their head. I don't have a good answer.
Right.
I will tell you that's what I think happened.
Right, and like we talked about in the shows leading up to this one, the one thing that the software didn't care about was the past, right? It doesn't care about traditions. It doesn't care about the past. And so the Little Southwest Conference, trying to keep those teams together for the sake of what they've been doing for a century, essentially, just wasn't a factor, right? It was about efficiency and making things the least difficult for the least amount of teams.
Yes, I agree. The other thing that's very interesting is that if you look down in 4A Division 1, okay, 4A Division 1, you have 3 teams in Region 1, or I'm sorry, 3 districts in Region 1. The entire Region 1 is comprised, with the exception of one district, it's comprised of 4 team districts. Clint, Mountain View, Fabens, and San Elizario are in District 1. Andrews, Big Spring, San Angelo, Lakeview, and Seminole, District 2. Canyon, Dumas, Hereford, Pampa, District 3. Those are 12 teams that have made the playoffs.
Yeah.
They're in.
Yeah.
Big questions in West Texas. That is where we saw the most shifting, the most interesting shifting. That's one. That's thought number 2. Thought number 3 is watch the regions. If you're asking me the big headline here, it is that the regions got absolutely thrown for a loop.
Yeah.
Yesterday we mentioned it on this show about the Cy-Fair district.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've got a commenter, Jeffrey Spurlock, is blown away by this, but continue. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We talked about it.
We mentioned this was a possibility because Cy-Fair now has 12 teams.
Yeah.
12 teams. We thought, okay, they're probably going to go 8-4. Which is exactly what they did. Or actually, they went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-4. Because they added Bryan and Tomball Memorial to District 14. And then the other 4 teams, Cy-Fair, Cy Creek, Cy Ridge, and Cy Falls, got put in with the Spring Branch ISD teams, with Houston, with Northbrook, with Spring Woods, with Houston Stratford, and Jersey Village in that mix. So they really went 5 and 7, I believe it is. Okay. The headline there is not that they split them up 7 and 5. The headline there is that you've got District 14 and District 17. They took a school district and they split them into 2 regions on opposite sides of the bracket.
They could play for a state championship.
You could theoretically have a Cy Ranch, Cy-Fair state championship game. Yeah. I don't know if I haven't looked at the enrollments, so don't quote me on that. But you could. You could have 2 teams from the same school district play for a state championship. That is unprecedented.
Right.
There was also big questions as to where teams like Aledo was going to go. We thought Aledo was going to go Region 1. Nope. Region 2. That's big doings. Yep. We're going to talk more about it, but Waco La Vega went from Region 4 to Region 2.
Yeah.
There is big shifting in regions, and that is a huge, huge storyline here for the realignment. That is if there's one thing I'm fascinated by, it's the regions.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask Dr. Elza about that coming up here in a minute. 4th big thought, non-district taking shape. Yep. Matt Stepp and I were at Birdville, and I believe Ishmael Johnson was down in Austin. Is that right?
Yeah, he was THSCA in St. Marcus.
In St. Marcus.
Yeah.
For UIL Realignment, where it's a lot of coaches gathering, and it's not just because that's where they find out your districts, because obviously that's important.
Right.
But and what you'll see is you'll have a lot of teams like, we'll get together, all the coaches from our district, so because a lot of these guys have not met each other, they need to exchange numbers, they need to get to know each other, and to say, hey, what? Let's come up with a time that we can set up our district schedule. So that's what they do. The other thing you saw was everyone walking around looking for games.
Yep.
For non-district games.
Yep.
You had teams that were dropping games because they found out there were more teams in their district than they thought, and you were seeing teams that had to add games. We mentioned those 3 4-team districts. Mm-hmm. Those teams have to schedule 7 non-district games all of a sudden. That's important. And so you're starting to see these games take shape. You're going to see on Twitter the next few days, Matt Stepp tweeting out, hey, so-and-so needs a Week 4 game. Yeah. Hey, so-and-so needs a Week 1 game. That is what's taking place now, is everyone's trying to fill their schedule. They're trying to find their non-district schedule. And look, I tweeted it. Nick York, who's an assistant at Gilmer, is a good dude. He was there trying to find Gilmer a non-district game.
Yeah.
Who wants that?
Not me.
Who wants to play Gilmer in non-district? So you're going to start to see that take shape. I know that the coach at Wichita Falls, Hershey, was looking for a Week 2 game, I think it was. Yeah. And I told him, you just need to lie and say that Marway Foster graduated. That is what's taking place now, is you're starting to see non-district games take shape. I believe sometime in March that they can't sign until March.
Right.
But there's a lot of tentative agreements that are going to come down. That's something to keep an eye on now. And finally, keep an eye on coaching changes. Okay. Guys, let's be honest about this. There are a fair number of coaches today who got some really bad news about the next 2 years.
Right.
Because they are staring down the barrel of a district that they don't want to be a part of.
Yeah.
and they're probably not making the playoffs.
Right.
And so they're probably and they are thinking, I will tell you the God's honest truth of the matter, that there were coaches in that room at Birdville and at San Marcos and in Abilene and all over the place that were thinking, I just lost my job.
Maybe. Yeah.
They're thinking, I just got fired.
Yeah.
Okay? Keep an eye on the coaching moves now, because some jobs just got a lot less attractive for the next 2 years. And
some got a
by
lot
the
more
way,
attractive.
Some got
Yeah.
a lot more
Yeah.
attractive
Yeah.
the next 2 years.
Yeah.
That is definitely something to keep an eye on, because I think you're going to see the coaching carousel, which you can follow at texasfootball.com/coach changes. You're going to start to see that speed up, because everyone was kind of in a holding pattern, and if you were on the fence as to whether you liked your job, you got shoved off the fence one way or another today, more than likely. Those are my 5 big overall thoughts. We've got complete coverage at texasfootball.com/realignment. Check it out. There you can see the alignment there.